video, we will dive into the movie Iron Man. We will discuss the storyline, summarize the plot, explore the cast and characters. Additionally, we will take a look at the film production detail and box office performance. Finally, we will share reviews and personal reaction. So let's get started. When we begin talking about Iron Man, it's important to slow down for a moment and appreciate why this film deserves such careful discussion. At first glance, it might seem like just another superhero movie filled with action, explosion, and flashy technology. But when you look a little deeper, you start to see this film represent a turning point not just for superhero cinema but for modern blockbuster storyline as a whole. Let's start with the genre. Iron Man belong to the superhero genre, but it doesn't feel like the traditional comic book movies that came before it. Instead of focusing only on larger than life heroism, the film blends action with realism, humor, and character driven storytelling. The movie takes its time to build the personality of Tony Stark, allowing us to understand his flaws, his ignorance, and eventually his transformation. His grounded approach makes the film more relatable and human, which is one of the main reasons it stands out. Now, if we shift our focus to the director Jon Favreau, we can see how his vision played a crucial role in shaping the film. Favreau did not just aim to create a visually exciting movie; he wanted to balance spectacle with sincerity. His direction allowed the film to breathe. There are quiet moments where the story slows down, giving us time to connect with Tony Stark as a person rather than just a superhero. This careful pacing helped the audience feel invested in his journey, making the action scenes scene more impactful when they arrive. Another key aspect worth discussing is the production style. One of the most impressive elements of Iron Man is how it combines practical effect with CGI. The suit doesn't feel like digital creation, they have weight, texture, and realism. This is partially because the film used real props and physical suit pieces during filming, which add authenticity to every moment. When Tony built his first suit in captivity, you can almost feel the rough metal and hear the clanking of each part. It creates a sense of immersion that pulls the viewer directly into the experience. The film production style also reflect a kind of grounded technological realism. The gadgets, interferences, and AI systems, especially Tony Assistant Jarvis, feel believable rather than overly futuristic. This makes the story more engaging because it feels like something that could exist in the near future rather than a distant fantasy world. We should also take a moment to recognize the performance of Robert Downey Jr., which is deeply connected to both the direction and production style. His portrayal of Tony Stark brings charm, wit, and emotional depth, perfectly matching the film's tone. This the dialogue often feel natural and unscripted, which add to the realism and make the character more memorable. So, as we warm up this discussion, it becomes clear that Iron Man is more than just an action film. It is a carefully crafted blend of genre innovation, thoughtful direction, and detailed production style. These elements come together to create a movie that not only entertain but also set a new standard for what superhero films can achieve. When analyzing the production budget of the film, it is helpful to take a calm, neutral approach and look at how the film was financed and executed. The movie had an estimated budget of around $140 million, which placed it among the higher end production of its time but not at the extreme level of the biggest blockbuster. This amount reflected a careful balance between ambition and financial cushions. especially since it was one of the first film produced independently by Marvel Cinematic Universe parent studio strategy. A large portion of the budget was directed toward visual effect and technical development because the story centered on advanced armor, realistic technology. The filmmaker needed to ensure that the suit looked believable rather than overly artificial. This required a combination of CGI and practical effects. Real suit components were built and used during filming, which increased the production cost but also improved the realism of the final product. The investment, in effect, was not just about spectacle but about creating a grounding and convincing visual experience that matched the film's tone. Another important area of spending was the cast. Robert Downey Jr. was not considered the most expensive actor at the time, but his role was central to the film's success. The production relied heavily on his performance to bring depth and personality to Tony Stark. Supporting actors also contributed to the budget through the film avoided the high cost associated with very large ensemble cast. It shows this shows a focused allocation of resources toward key performances rather than spreading the budget too thin. Production design and location shooting also required significant funding. The filmmaker chose to shoot in real environment, including desert location, which add authenticity but increase logistical expenses. Sets such as Tony Stark workshop were designed with a high level of detail to reflect the character's intelligence and technological expertise. These choices demonstrate that part of the budget was used to strengthen the film realism rather than relying entirely on digital environment. Post production was another area where resources were carefully invested. Editing, sound design, and music all play important role in shaping the final experience. The sound of the suit, the pacing of the action scene, and the overall audio design contributed to the immersive quality of the film. These elements require time, expertise, and financial support, making them a key part of the overall budget. When compared to the similar film of the same period, the budget of $140 million appear relatively controlled. For instance, Spider-Man 3 had a much larger budget, reportedly over $250 million, while The Dark Knight were also significantly higher at around $185 million. In contrast, Iron Man achieved a comparable level of quality without reaching those financial streams. This suggests that the production team made deliberate choices about where to spend and where to limit cost. Overall, the budget of the Iron Man reflects a strategic and disciplined approach to filmmaking. The resources were allocated in a way that supported the film's core strength, including actor development, visual realism, and narrative clarity. Rather than relying solely on scale or excess, the production focus on efficiency and purpose. This careful management of funds play a key role in the film's success and demonstrated that a well-planned budget and can deliver strong results without unnecessary overspending. When discussing the genre and the overall mood of the Iron Man, it becomes clear that the film blends multiple elements while maintaining a consistent and engaging identity. At its core, the movie belongs to the superhero genre, but it also incorporates action, science fiction, and even touches of drama and comedy. This combination allows the film to feel both entertaining and grounded, appealing to a wide audience without losing its focus. The atmosphere of the film is one of the most defining qualities. Unlike many earlier superhero movies that lean heavily on fantasy, Iron Man creates a world that feels realistic and modern. The environment, whether it's the high tech labs, corporate settings, or desert landscape, are designed to feel believable. This grounded atmosphere makes the story more immersive, as the audience can imagine such technology and event existing in the real world. The use of practical effect combined with detailed CGI enhance this scene of realism, giving weight and texture to everything on screen. The pacing of the movie is carefully structured to balance action with character development. The film does not rush into large scale battle right away. Instead, it being by introducing Tony Stark and establishing his personality, lifestyle, and flaws. This slow start allows viewers to understand who he is before he becomes a hero. As the story progresses, the pacing gradually increases, moving from interceptive movement to more intense action sequence. This steady build-up ensures that the climax feel earned rather than sudden. In terms of tone, the film strikes a unique balance between seriousness and humor. On one hand, it deals with meaningful themes such as responsibility, the consequence of violence, and personal transformation. On the other hand, it frequently uses humor to keep the story light and engaging. Much of this humor comes from the witty dialogue and charismatic performance of the Robert Downey Jr. His portrayal add a layer of charm that prevent the film from becoming overly dark or heavy. Stylistically, the movie take a clean and modern approach. The technology is presenting with sleek design and intuitive interference, especially in scenes involving Tony workshops and AI system. These stylistic choices help reinforces the film's science fiction elements while keeping them accessible. The visual style avoid excessive complexity, focusing instead on clarity and functionality. This makes the action sequence easier to follow and technological concept easier to understand. Another important aspect of the film's mood is its sense of transformation. At the beginning, the mood reflects Tony's carefree and somewhat irresponsible lifestyle. As the story develops, the mood shifts to something more serious and reflective, particularly during his captivity and subsequent change in perspective. By the end of the film, the mood becomes more heroic and determined, mirroring his growth into Iron Man. This gradual shift in mood adds emotional depth and makes the narrative more compelling. The action scene also contributes significantly to the overall mood. Rather than being constant or overwhelming, they are placed strategically through the film. Each action sequence serves a purpose, either advancing the plot or highlighting the Tony development. The combination of realistic effect and controlled pacing and clear visual storytelling ensure that these elements feel impactful rather than excessive. Overall, the genre and the mood of the Iron Man work together to create a film that is both exciting and thoughtful. Its blend of action, science fiction, and character driven storytelling, combined with a balanced tone and carefully managed pacing, result in a cinematic experience that feels fresh, engaging, and memorable. Before watching Iron Man, audience expectation was shaped by several key factors, including viewers' demographic, anticipated theme, and the general reputation of the superhero genre at the time. Understanding these expectations help explain not only how the film was received but also why it had such a strong impact on different groups of viewers. From a viewer's demographic perspective, the movie was expected to appeal primarily to younger audience, especially teenagers and young adults who were already familiar with comic book culture. Fan of Marvel Comics had some awareness of Tony Stark, but unlike more widely known heroes such as Spider Man or Batman, Iron Man was not considered a mainstream icon at the time. This created a mixed expectation among viewers. Dedicated comic readers were curious and cautiously optimistic, while general audience approached the film with limited prior knowledge. For many, this lack of familiarity meant expectation were not overly high, but it also followed the film to feel fresh and unpredictable. Another important group with the audience include fan of action and technology driven storytelling. These viewers were drawn to the idea of a high tech superhero whose abilities came from intelligence and engineering rather than supernatural power. This concept suggests a more grounded and realistic approach which appealed to audience interested in science fiction element that felt possible. At the same time, older viewers and casual moviegoers might have expected a straightforward action film without too much emotional depth based on the typical pattern of superhero movies released before 2008. When considering anticipated theme, audience likely expected a story centered on heroism, good versus evil, and technological innovation. The premise of a weapon manufacturer becoming a hero hinted at themes of redemption and responsibility, but it was not immediately clear how deeply these ideas would be explored. Some viewers may have assumed the film would focus more on spectacle than on character development. However, the involvement of Jon Favreau as director introduced a level of curiosity, as he was known for blending humor and character driven storytelling in his previous work. This suggested that the film might offer more than just action sequence, for genre fan expectations were influenced heavily by earlier superhero films. Movies like Spider-Man and Batman being had already set certain standards. Spider-Man emphasized emotional storytelling and relatable character, while Batman being introduced a darker, more realistic tone. As a result, audience expected Iron Man to follow one of these established paths, either leaning toward emotional drama or gritty realism. Few anticipated that the film would successfully combine humor, action, and realism into a single balanced tone. This was also a level of uncertainty surrounding the casting of Robert Downey Jr. At the time. He was not the obvious choice for the leading superhero role, and this created mixed expectations. Some viewers questioned whether he could carry a major blockbuster, while others were intrigued by the possibility of a more unconventional and charismatic lead performance. This uncertainty added an extra layer of anticipation, as audience were curious to see how his portrait could shape the character. Additionally, because the Iron Man was the first film produced under what could later become the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there were no clear expectation about a large interconnected story. Most viewers approached the film as a standalone project without anticipating the expansive universe that could follow. This lack of expectation allowed the film to surprise audience, particularly with its tone and storytelling approach. Overall, audience expectation before watching Iron Man were a mix of curiosity, caution, optimism, and uncertainty. Different demographic group brought their own perspective, whether they were comic fan, action enthusiasts, or casual viewers. While many expected an entertaining superhero film with impressive visuals, viewers anticipated the strong character focus, balanced tone, and innovative style that the movie ultimately delivered. This gap between expectations and experience played a significant role in the film's lasting success and influence. While examining the target audience of the Iron Man, it became clear that the film was designed to appeal to a broad but carefully defined group of viewers. By considering factors such as age group, interest, and genre preferences, we can better understand how the movie connected with its audience and why it became so wildly successful. In terms of age group, Iron Man is primarily aimed at teenagers and adults rather than very young children. The film is rated in a way that make it accessible to younger viewers, but its theme and dialogue are more suitable for audience who can appreciate character development and moral complexity. Teenagers are likely to enjoy the action, humor, and fast-paced sequence, while adults can engage more deeply with the film's underlying theme, such as responsibility, ethics, and personal transformation. The character of Tony Stark is not a traditional superhero. He is flawed, arrogant, and evolves over time. This complexity makes the film more appealing to viewers who are mature enough to understand character growth. When considering interest, the movie strongly targets viewers who enjoy technology, innovation, and futuristic ideas. A large part of the film focuses on engineering, design, and problem solving, especially in scene when Tony built and improved his suit. This makes the film particularly attractive to audience interested in science, gadget, and creativity. The presence of artificial intelligence system, advanced weaponry, and sleek design element add to this appeal. At the same time, the film also targets viewers who enjoy character-driven storytelling. It is not only about action, it is also about a movie changing his perspective and redefining his purpose. Another important group within the target audience include fans of humor and personality-driven narrative. Much of the film's charms come from the witty and confident performance of Robert Downey Jr. His delivery of dialogue combined with the film's light comedic tone make it appealing to viewers who prefer entertainment that balance seriousness with fun. This blend ensures that the film does not feel overly heavy even when dealing with serious topics. From a genre preferences standpoint, Iron Man is clearly aimed at fans of superhero and action film. However, it also extends beyond that core group by incorporating elements of science fiction and drama. People enjoy high energy action sequences such as live flight scenes and battles will blend plenty to engage with. At the same time, those who prefer stories with emotional depth and character arc will also find values in the film. This dual appeal allows the movie to reach a wider audience than traditional genre film that focus on only one aspect. The film is also well suited for audience who appreciate a grounded approach to the superhero genre. Unlike many fantastical stories, Iron Man presents a world that feels realistic and relatable. The challenge faced by Tony Stark are not purely external, they are also internal, involving his consequence and personal growth. This makes the film particularly appealing to viewers who prefer realistic storytelling over purely escapistic fantasy. Additionally, the movie targets both casual viewers and dedicated fans of Marvel Comics. For casual viewers, the story is easy to follow and does not require prior knowledge of the character. For comic fans, the film offers a faithful yet modern interpretation of Iron Man, creating a sense of familiarity while still feeling fresh. This balance ensures that the film does not exclude any major audience group. Overall, the target audience of the Iron Man include teenager and adult who enjoy action, technology, humor, and character-driven story. It appeals to both genre enthusiastic and general viewers by offering a mix of excitement and depth. By addressing multiple interests and preferences with a single narrative, the film successfully positions itself as a widely accessible and engaging cinematic experience. When exploring the emotional experience offered by Iron Man, it becomes clear that the film is designed to take viewers on a gradual and layered emotional journey rather than relying on a single tone. It blends multiple mood and theme to create an experience that feels both exciting and meaningful. In terms of mood, the films being with a sense of confidence and lightness. The early scenes include Tony Stark as a charismatic, witty, and carefree individual. His lifestyle is luxurious and the tone is often playful, spotted by humor and sharp dialogue. This creates an initial emotional connection with the audience and entertain and intrigue you by his personality. However, this mood quickly shifts when Tony is captured, marking a turning point in the emotional direction of the film. The atmosphere becomes tense, serious, and even uncomfortable, forcing both the character and the audience to confront the consequence of his actions. As the story progresses, the mood evolves into one of reflection and determination. Donnie's experience in captivity lead him to question his identity and the impact of his work. This shift introduces a deeper emotional layer where the audience begins to emphasize with his internal struggle. The film does not rush this transformation, instead it follows the mood to develop, gradually making the change feel authentic. By the time Tony being building his suit and planning his escape, the mood becomes a mix of suspense and hope, keeping viewers engaged. The mood becomes engaged while signaling the beginning of the transformation. The theme of the film plays a central role in shaping its emotional experience. One of the most prominent themes is responsibility. Tony start as someone who benefit from creating weapons without considering their consequence. Over time, he realized the harm caused by his invention and decided to take the responsibility for his action. This theme creates a sense of moral growth that resonates emotionally with the audience. Another key theme is redemption. The story shows that it is possible to change and make better choices even after making serious mistake. This idea add a hopeful and inspiring dimension to the film. There is also strong theme of identity. Tony's journey is not just about becoming a superhero. It is about understanding who he truly is. The creation of the Iron Man suits become a symbol of this transformation. It represents not only his intelligence and creativity but also his new sense of purpose. This thematic depth add emotional weight to the film, making it more than just an action hero in terms of intended impact. The film aimed to leave the audience feeling both entertained and inspired. The action sequence provide excitement and adrenaline, while the character-driven moment after emotional depth. By the end of the film, viewers are meant to feel a sense of satisfaction as they witness Tony's complete transformation. His journey from a self-centered businessman to a hero who uses his ability for good create a powerful emotional payoff. The film also uses humor as an emotional tool. The witty performances of Robert Downey Jr. add warmth and relatability to the film. Even in serious moments, the presence of humor prevents the film from becoming too heavy, maintaining a balanced emotional tone. This combination of lightness and seriousness ensures that the study remain engaged throughout the film. Another important aspect of the emotional experience is a sense of empowerment. Watching Tony build and improve his suit step by step create a feeling of progress and achievement. The audience share in his success, making his victories feel more rewarding. This sense of empowerment contribute to the overall positive impact of the film. Ultimately, Iron Man promises an emotional experience that combines excitement, reflection, and inspiration. Its shifting mood, meaningful themes, and careful crafted character arc work together to create a journey that is both engaging and emotionally satisfying. The film leaves viewers not only entertained but also with a sense of hope and the idea that change is always possible. At the heart of Iron Man lies a story that operates beyond its surface level action and spectacle. When viewed in abstract terms, the film is not simply about a man building a suit or becoming a hero. It is about transformation, specifically the transformation of consciousness. The narrative revolves around the idea that true change being when an individual is forced to confront the consequence of their own actions. Through the journey of Tony Stark, the film explored the theme of self awareness. At the beginning, Tony exists in a state of detachment. He is intelligent and successful, yet disconnected from real world impact of the work. His creation through technologically advanced are instrument of destruction, and he view them with a sense of pride rather than responsibility. In abstract terms, this represents a form of moral blindness, a condition where knowledge exists without wisdom. The core idea being to take shape when this attachment is disrupted. Tony is placed in a situation where he becomes a victim of the very system he helped create. This moment serves as a catalyst, forcing him into a space of reflection. The film suggests that transformation often arises from crisis. It is not comfort but discomfort that drives individuals to reconsider their belief and action. In this sense, the story represents suffering not merely as an obstacle but as a necessary condition for growth. Another central theme is the concept of responsibility as an awakening. Once Tony becomes aware of the consequence of his work, he can no longer remain passive. The narrative implies that awareness brings obligation to now something that do nothing is portrayed as a continuation of jump. Therefore, the decision to act to change direction and use his abilities differently becomes the defining step in his transformation. This idea elevates the story from a personal journey to a broader ethical statement about the role of individual in shaping the world around them. The film also engaged with the idea of technology as a reflection of human intact. The suit of Iron Man is not inherently good or evil, it is a tool. Its meaning is determined by the purpose behind its creation and use. Early in the story, technology is aligned with profit and power, lacking moral direction. As Tony evolved, the same technological brilliance is redirected toward protection responsibility. This shift illustrates a deeper message that innovation without ethics is incomplete. The story suggests that progress must be guided by values, not just capability. In terms of story concept, Iron Man can be understood as a narrative of reinvention. Tony does not simply improve himself, he reconstructs his identity. The creation of the suit symbolizes this process. It is both a physical and psychological transformation, a merging of intellect, intention, and action. The armor becomes an extension of his new self, representing discipline, purpose, and accountability. In abstract language, it can be seen as the externalization of an internal shield. The theme of duality is also present through the film. Tony exists between two identities, the man he was and the man he is becoming. The tension drive the narrative forward. It reflects a universal human experience, the struggle between comfort and change, between past habits and future ideas. The story suggests that growth requires the willingness to let go of previous identity, even when they are associated with success of power. Another important element is the idea of control versus chaos. At the beginning, Tony believes he is in control of his life and his creations. However, the event of the story reveal that his control is an illusion. The consequence of his action extend beyond his intention, creating chaos that he can't ignore. His journey then becomes one of reclaiming control, not through dominance but through responsibility and awareness. This redefinition of control aligns with the film's broader message about ethical engagement with the world. The intended message can be summarized as the belief that true strength lies in the ability to change. Power is not defined by wealth, intelligence, or technology alone, but the willingness to use those resources for a greater good. The story challenges the idea that success is measured only by achievement, instead proposing that it should also be measured by impact. Finally, the film presents the idea that identity is not fixed but constructed through choices. Tony's transformation is not instantaneous, it is the result of a series of discussions that reflect his evolving understanding of himself and the world. This reinforces the notion that individuals are not defined by their past but by their capacity to grow and redefine their purpose. In abstract terms, Iron Man tells a story about awakening responsibility and the ethical use of power. It frames personal transformation as both a necessity and a possibility, offering a message that extends beyond the narrative itself. Through its theme, message, and the story concept, the film invites the audience to consider not only what they can do but what they should do, and how those choices ultimately shape who they become. The central conflict in this film can be understood not as a simple struggle but a hero and an external opponent, but as a layered tension rooted in moral dilemmas, internal challenges, and the evolving responsibility. At its core, the story presents a conflict between two opposing ways of understanding power, one driven by self-interest and detachment, and the other shaped by awareness and accountability. The most insignificant moral dilemma within the narrative revolve around the question of responsibility. The central figure, Tony Stark, exists in a position where his intelligence and the creation have far-reaching consequences. The dilemma is not about what he has power, but about how that power should be used. On one side lies the continuation of a system that benefits him personally while ignoring his broader impact. On the other side is the recognition that such detachment contributes to harm. This creates a persistent tension between consequence and convenience. The character must confront whether it is acceptable to remain passive in the face of consequence that he indirectly enables. Closely tied to this is the challenge of self confrontation. The conflict is deeply internal as it requires an individual to reassess their identity and value. This is not an easy or immediate process. It involved questioning long held belief, acknowledging personal flaws, and accepting uncomfortable truth. The tension arises from the difficulty of this transformation. Change demand not only awareness but also action, and the gap between knowing and the doing become a source of psychological struggle. The character is pulled between the familiarity of his past self and the uncertainty of what he must become. Another layer of the conflict emerges from the relationship between innovation and ethics. The narrative explores the idea that the ability to create does not automatically justify what is created. This introduces a broader philosophical tension: should progress be pursued without limitation, or should it be guided by moral consideration? The story does not present this is as a simple choice but as an ongoing struggle. The challenge lies in aligning capability and with responsibility, ensuring that advancement does not outpace ethical reflection. This creates a continuation tension between ambition and restraint. The film also highlights the conflict between individual agency and systematic influence. While the central character has the ability to make personal choices, he operates within a larger struggle that has its own momentum and interest. This raises the question of how much one person can truly change within an established system. The tension here is not only external but conceptual. It reflects the difficulty of challenging systems that are built on profit, power, and tradition. The character must navigate the limit of his influence while attempting to redefine his role within that system. A further dimension of the conflict involves the idea of the control versus consequence. At one level, there is a belief in the ability to control outcome through intelligence and design. However, the narrative challenges this belief by showing the action often produce unintended effect. This creates tension between intention and result. The character must come to terms with the fact that control is never absolute and that responsibility extends beyond what is planned or predicted. This realization adds complexity to the conflict as it forces a shift from confidence to caution. There is also persistent tension between identity and transformation. The central character exists in a state of transition, catch between who he has been and who he is becoming. This creates an internal conflict that is both emotional and philosophical. The process of change requires letting go of certain aspects of identity while embracing new ones. However, this transition is not smooth or complete. The past continue to exert influence, creating moments of doubt and hesitation. The tension lies in maintaining a sense of direction while navigating this evolving identity. Additionally, this story engages with the idea of power as both a tool and a burden. Possessing the ability to act bring with it the expectation to act responsibly. This dual nature of power creates a subtitle but constant tension. It is no longer possible to remain neutral or uninvolved. The character must decide how to carry the weight of this responsibility, knowing that inaction can be as impactful as action. This transforms power from a source of freedom into a source of obligation. Ultimately, the central conflict of this film is not confined to a single struggle but exists as an interplay of moral, psychological, philosophical tension. It is a conflict that challenges the individual to move beyond self interest, to confront uncomfortable truth, and to define the meaning of power and responsibility. Through these layers of dilemmas and challenges, the film presents a complex and evolving tension that drives its narrative and gives it step beyond its external action. The thematic structure of the film extends far beyond its surface identity as a superhero story. Beneath the action and technological spectre lies a network of ideas that engage with ethical question, emotional development, and broader cultural topics. These themes are interconnected, creating a narrative that reflects both personal transformation and societal reflection. One of the most prominent ethical questions explored in the film concern the responsibility that comes with power and innovation. Through the journey of Tony Stark, the story raises the issue of whether creators are accountable for how their creations are used. This question does not have a simple answer, and the film treats it as an ongoing moral challenge rather than a resolved problem. The idea that intelligent and technological capability must be guided by ethical awareness becomes a central concern. It suggests that progress without reflection can lead to unintended harm and that individuals must take ownership of the consequences tied to their work. Closely related to this is the ethical tension between profit and morality. The narrative examines how systems built on economic success can sometimes overlook human impact. This introduces a dilemma: should success be measured purely by achievement and wealth, or should it also consider the effect on others? The film encourages people to think about the cost of ignoring this balance. In subtitle creates environment where innovation is driven by gain rather than responsibility, making the ethical dimension both personal and systemic. The film also explores a powerful emotional arc centered on transformation and self-realization. Tony Stark being as a character defined by confidence and detachment, but his journey led him toward interception and change. This emotional progression is not immediate, it unfolds gradually, reflecting the complexity of personal growth. The audience witnessed a shift from indifference to awareness and from awareness to purposeful action. This arc creates a sense of emotional depth as it highlights the difficulty of confronting one's own flaws and the courage required to evolve. Another emotional theme is redemption. The story suggests that past actions, even those with serious consequences, do not permanently define a person. Instead, it emphasizes the possibility of change through conscious effort and responsibility. This theme resonates on a human level as it reflects a universal desire to improve and make amends. The emotional impact of this idea lies in its optimism. It presents transformation as achievable even when it requires significant sacrifice. This is also an undercurrent of isolation and connection within the emotional landscape. Despite his outward confidence, Tony exists in a state of separation from others, shaped by his lifestyle and mindset. As the narrative progresses, this isolation becomes more apparent, leading to a need for meaningful connection and purpose. This aspect of the story adds another layer to the emotional experience, showing that personal growth is not only about internal change but also about one's relate to the world. From a cultural perspective, this film engaged with themes relevant to modern society, particularly the relationship between technology and human values. The film reflects a world increasingly shaped by innovation where advancement can bring through both benefits and risk. It raises questions about how society manages these developments and who is responsible for ensuring that they are used ethically. This makes the story feel contemporary and relevant as it mirrors real world concern about technological power and its implications. Another culture topic explored is the idea of individual influence with the larger system. The narrative examines how one's personal choices can interact with broader structures such as industries or institutions. This creates a dialogue about agency and limitation. How much can an individual change within a system that has its own establishment pattern? The film does not present a definitive answer, but it highlights the importance of taking action even when change seems difficult. The theme of identity also plays a significant role in both emotion and cultural context. Tony Stark's journey reflects the idea that identity is not fixed but can be reshaped through choices and experience. This aligns with the broader cultural understanding of selfhood as something dynamic rather than static. The film suggests that who a person becomes is influenced by how they respond to challenges and responsibility. Additionally, the story touches on the cultural perception of heroism. Instead of presenting a flawless or idealized figure, it offers a more complex version of a hero, someone who is imperfect but capable of growth. But the redemption of heroism alive with contemporary expectation, where audience often see characters who are relatable and multi-dimensional. In conclusion, Iron Man explore a rich set of themes that combine ethical inquiry, emotional development, and cultural reflection. Through its focus on responsibility, transformation, and the role of technology in society, the film creates a narrative that resonates on multiple levels. It invites viewers to consider not only the action of its character but also the broader implication of those action, making it a thematically layered and thought-provoking work. The emotional connection in this film is built through a careful balance of mood, thematic depth, and the overall viewer's experience. Rather than relying only on dramatic moment or action, the film creates a sustained emotional engagement by allowing the audience to gradually understand and relate to the inner journey of Tony Stark. This connection develops over time, shaped by shift in tone and the unfolding of meaningful theme. In terms of mood, the film begins with a light, confident, and even playful atmosphere. Tony Stark is introduced as someone who is charismatic and self-assured, and this initial tone invites the audience to enjoy his responsibility. There is a sense of ease and entertainment in these early moments, which help viewers feel comfortable and engaged. However, this mood does not remain static as the story progresses. The tone becomes more serious and reflective, creating a contrast that deepens the emotional experience. The shift is important because it mirrors the internal change of the character, allow the audience to feel that transformation rather than simply observe it. As the mood evolves, it introduces elements of tension and introspection. The films create emotional weight by placing the character in situations that challenge his worldview. This change in atmosphere encourages viewers to think more deeply about what is happening, moving beyond surface level enjoyment. The gradual transition from lightness to seriousness ensure that the emotional impact feel natural and earned rather than forced. The theme of the film plays a central role in establishing emotional connection. One of the most powerful themes is personal transformation. The story invites viewers to witness a journey from detachment to awareness and from awareness to responsibility. This progression resonates because it reflects a universal human experience, the idea that people can grow and change when faced with difficult truth. The audience is not just watching a character become a hero, their experience is the process of self discovery alongside him. Another important theme is responsibility. The narrative emphasizes that actions have consequences and that recognizing those consequences can lead to meaningful change. This theme connects emotionally because it speaks to a shared sense of accountability. Viewers may see aspects of their own lives reflecting in this idea, making the story feel more personal. It encourages reflection on how individual choice can impact others, creating a deeper level of engagement. The theme of redemption also strengthens the emotional bond between the story and the audience. The film suggests that it is possible to move beyond past mistakes and create a better future. This message carries a sense of hope which is emotionally uplifting. It reassures viewers that change is achievable even when it is required effort and sacrifice. This hopeful tone adds warmth to the narrative, making it more impactful. From the perspective of viewer experience, the emotional connection is enhanced by the relatability of the central character. Despite his intelligence and success, Tony Stark is not presenting as perfect. He has flaws, make questionable decisions, and struggle with his own identity. These imperfections make him more human and accessible. Viewers are more likely to connect with a character who feels real rather than one who is idealized. This relatability allows the audience to invest emotionally in his journey. The performance of Robert Downey Jr. also contributes significantly to this connection. His portrayal adds nuance and authenticity, making the character feel genuine. The way he balances confidence with vulnerability help the audience understand the complexity of the character, strengthening the emotional impact of the story. Humor is another element that enhances the viewer experience. The film uses wit and light-hearted moments to create a sense of balance. These moments provide relief from tension, preventing the story from becoming too heavy. At the same time, they make the character more likable, which increases emotional investment. The combination of humor and seriousness create a dynamic experience that keep the audience engaged on multiple levels. The visual and auditory element of the film also play a role in shaping emotional connection. The design of the technology, the sound of the suit, and the pacing of all the scene all contribute to the overall mood. These details help create an immersive experience, allowing viewer to feel more connected to the world of the film. When the audience is fully immersed, the emotional impact becomes stronger. Ultimately, the film connects emotionally by combining in shifting mood, meaningful theme, and the relatable viewer experience. It invites the audience to engage not only with the external story but also with the internal journey of its central character. Through this layered approach, the film creates an emotional experience that is both engaging and enduring, leaving viewers with a sense of connection that extends beyond the screen. In this film, the character work is one of the film's strongest elements, elevating it beyond a standard superhero narrative. The story is driven not just by action but by the psychological moral evaluation of its central figure. When viewed through the lens of the main character archetype and personality trait, the film presenting a compelling study of transformation, contrast, and identity. At the center of the narrative is Tony Stark, who embodies the archetype of the flawed genius. As the main character, he is introduced as highly intelligent, confident, and charismatic, but also deeply self-centered. His personality traits include wit, arrogance, and tendency toward detachment. From a reviewer perspective, what makes this character particularly engaging is not his initial state but the way the film allows his flaw to be fully visible. He is not presenting as an ideal hero, instead he being as someone who benefits from system he does not question. This characterization creates a strong foundation for his development. Over time, Tony transition into what can be described as a reluctant reformer archetype. His personality shift toward introspection, introduction, and determination. Importantly, this transformation does not erase his earlier trait. His confidence and humor remain, but they are redirected toward a more meaningful purpose. This layered portrait make him feel dynamic rather than static, allow the audience to engage with both his strength. The performance of Robert Downey Jr. play a crucial role in shaping his character. His delivery adds nods to Tony's responsibility, balancing charm with vulnerability. As a reviewer, it is worth noting that the character appeal lie in this balance. Without the humor and charisma, the flaws make might make him difficult to connect with. Without the flaws, the character would lack depth. The film succeeds by maintaining this equilibrium throughout. In contrast to Tony Stark, the character of Obadiah Stane represents a difficult archetype, the corrupt mentor or hidden antagonist. At first, he appears as a figure of authority and stability, someone who operates within the same world as Tony but with a more controlled and calculated demeanor. His personality traits include ambition, pragmatism, and a focus on power. From an analytical standpoint, this character serves as a thematic counterpoint to Tony. While Tony evolved toward responsibility, Obadiah remained aligned with self-interest. This contrast highlights one of the film's key ideas, that individuals faced with similar circumstances can make very difficult choices. Obedient character does not undergo the same transformation as Tony, which reinforces the narrative tension. He embodies what Tony might have remained if he had not changed. This mirroring effect strengthens the overall character dynamic, making their opposition feel more conceptual than purely physical. Another important figure in the film is Pepper Potts, which can be understood through the archetype of the grounding presence. Her personality traits include loyalty, intelligence, and emotional awareness. She serves as a stabilizing force within the story, offering a perspective that contrasts with Tony's initial detachment. From a reviewer's viewpoint, Pepper's role is subtitle but significant. She does not dominate the narrative, but her presence influences the emotional tone and support the protagonist's development. Pepper's interaction with Tony reveal aspects of his character that might otherwise remain hidden. Through her, the audience sees moments of vulnerability and sincerity that add depth to his response. personality. She represents a connection to reality, helping to anchor the story more technological and fantastical element in human relationship. Additionally, the film include characters whose function with supporting archetypes such as the loyal ally or voice of reason. This figure contribute to the overall narrative by reinforcing the central theme and providing context for the protagonist's journey. While they may not undergo significant development themselves, their presence helps shape the environment in which Tony's transformation takes place. Over the character analysis of the film reveal a well-constructed set of personality that work together to drive the story forward. The main character's evaluation that from flaws, genius to responsible innovator form the emotional core of the film, while the supporting character provide contrast, support, and thematic reinforcement through the use of recognizable archetype and careful developed personality traits. The film creates characters that are both engaging and meaningful, contribute to its lasting impact as the characters driven narrative. The acting performance in this film are central to its emotional impact, shaping not only how the story is told but how it is felt. What stands out immediately is the way the cast bring authenticity and energy to a film that could have easily relied only on visual spectacle. Instead, the performances ground the narrative, allowing the audience to connect with the characters on a deeper level. Focusing on the lead actor, Robert Downey Jr. deliver a performance that is both charismatic and emotionally layered. As Tony Stark, he does more than simply portray a genius inventor. He embodies his personality that feel alive, unpredictable, and evolving. His performance carries a natural rhythm, blending humor with seriousness in a way that never feel forced. One moment he is playful and confident, and the next he reveals a quieter, more reflective side. This emotional range is what allows the audience to stay engaged with his journey. What makes his performance particularly effective is a sense of spontaneity he brings to the role. The dialogue often feels conversational rather than scripted, which add to the realism of the character. His this natural delivery help create an emotional closeness between Tony Stark and other audience. Viewers are not just observing him, they feel as both their experiences, his thought and reactions in real time. This connection becomes especially important as the character undergo internal change, as it allows the emotional shift to feel genuine rather than exaggerated. Turning to the supporting cast, their contribution are equally important in shaping the film's emotional tone. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts brings a sense of warmth and stability to the story. Her performance is understated yet impactful. She does not rely on dramatic expression. Instead, her emotional presence is conveyed through subtitle reaction and consistent sincerity. This creates a strong contrast with Tony's more expressive personality, making their interaction feel balanced and authentic. Another key performances come from Jeff Bridges as Oba Dion Stain. His portrait carry a quiet intensity that gradually builds throughout the film, rather than presenting the character in an overly dramatic way. He uses controlled expression and a measured tone to create tension. This restrained approach adds depth to the role, making the character appearance feel significant even in quieter moments. From an emotional perspective, his performance introduces a sense of unease that contrasts with the more dynamic energy of the lead. The chemistry between the actors play a crucial role in enhancing the viewer's emotional experience. The interaction between Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow, for example, feel natural and unenforced. Their conversation carries a rhythm that reflects familiarity and mutual understanding, which help establish a believable relationship. This chemistry adds emotional texture to the films, providing moments of connection that go beyond the central conflict. Similarly, the dynamic between Tony Stark and Obadiah Stane is shaped by a different kind of chemistry, One built on contrast and tension, their interaction are layered with underlying meaning. Even when the dialogue appears straightforward, this creates an emotional complexity that keep the audience engaged, as there is always a sense that more is happening beneath the surface. Another aspect worth noting is how the performances collectively maintain the film's tonal balance. The actor managed to navigate shift between humor, tension, and introspection without disrupting the flow of the story. This consistency is important because it ensures that the emotional experience remains cohesive. Each performance supports the other, creating a unified atmosphere that feels both engaging and overall. The acting in this film is not just effective, it is essential to the film's success. The lead performance provides depth and charisma. The supporting cast adds stability and contrast, and the chemistry between the characters create a sense of authenticity. Together, these elements form an emotional foundation that elevate the film beyond its genre, allowing it to resonate with the audience on a more personal level. In this film, the realism and the character depth play a crucial role in elevating the film beyond a conventional superhero narrative. While the premise involves advanced technology and larger than life elements, the story remains grounding through its focus on human behavior, emotional complexity, and gradual transformation. By examining this, it becomes clear how the film achieves a sense of authenticity that resonates with viewers. Starting with character development, the journey of the Tony Stark is structured in a way that feels progressive rather than abrupt. His transformation is not presenting as an instant shift from one identity to another. Instead, it unfolds through a series of realization and decisions that build upon each other. This layered development makes the character feel more realistic, as change in real life is rarely immediate or simple. The film allows space for reflection, hesitation, and adjustment, which add depth to the narrative. What strengthens this development is the consistency of Tony's core responsibility trait. Even as he evolves, elements such as his confidence, intelligence, and humor remain present. These traits are not removed but redirected, which make the transformation feel authentic. From a reviewer perspective, this continuity is essential for maintaining credibility. A character who changes completely without retaining any of their original identity would feel artificial. In contrast, Tony's evaluation feel like a natural extension of who already is. In terms of believability, the film make a deliberate effort to ground his more fantastical element in a realistic framework. These technologies, while advanced, is presenting in a way that feel plausible. The process of designing and building the suit is show the attention to detail, emphasizing trial, error, and improvement. This approach creates a sense that the achievements are earned rather than magically acquired. As a result, the audience is more willing to accept the film's premise as it is supported by a logical progression. The performance, particularly that of Robert Downey Jr., further enhanced its believability. His portrayal of Tony Stark adds nods to the character, making his reaction and discussion feel genuine. The way he expresses both confidence and vulnerability contribute to a sense of realism that anchor the story. His interaction with other characters feel natural, which strengthen the overall credibility of the narrative. Supporting character also contribute to the film's sense of realism. Pepper Potts, for example, is portrayed with a grounded and relatable personality. Her response to situation are measured and believable, providing a contrast to Tony's more dynamic behavior. This balance helps create a world that feel inhabited by real people rather than exaggerated figures. Similarly, Obedience Stain is presenting in a way that aligns with recognizable human motivations such as ambition and control, which add to the narrative authenticity. The film's emotional range is another key factor in establishing depth. It does not rely solely on one type of emotion, but instead explore a spectrum that includes humor, tension, reflection, determination. This variety allows the character to feel more complete, as they are not confined to a single emotional state. Tony Stark in particularly demonstrates this strength through his shifting responses to different situations. He moves from light-hearted confidence to moment of introspection and resolve, creating a dynamic emotional profile. This emotional range is important because it mirrors a real human experience. People do not exist in a constant emotional state. They react differently depending on circumstances. By reflecting this variability, the film enhances realism. The audience is able to connect with the character because their emotions feel familiar and understandable. Another aspect of depth comes from the film's willingness to explore internal conflict. Rather than focusing only on external challenges, the narrative gives attention to the character's internal struggle. This focus on internal dynamic adds psychological dimension to the story, making it more engaging. It encourages viewer to consider not just what the character do, but why they do it. Overall, Iron Man achieves a strong sense of realism and depth by combining thoughtful character development, believable storytelling, and avoid emotional ray. The film's ability to ground its extraordinary element in relatable human experience. It what allow it to connect with audience on a deeper level through its careful constructed character with audience emotional progression. It creates a narrative that feels both engaging and credible. The production budget of the film can be understood as a careful structured investment that balances ambition with financial control. The film's estimated cost falls with a range of approximately $130 million to $150 million, placing it in the category of high budget production for the film, but not at the extreme upper end of blockbuster spending. This range reflects a measured approach, particularly important because the project was important of an emerging strategy that would later develop into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Looking at universe allocation, a significant portion of the budget was directed toward visual effect and technical design. The central concept of the film revealed a believable representation of advanced armor and active technology. To achieve this, the production combined digital effect with practical elements such as physical suit component used during filming. This hybrid approach increased cost but contributed to a more grounded and realistic visual outcome. Rather than relying entirely on CGI, the filmmaker invested in method that enhance authenticity, which become a defining feature of the film's style. Another major area of expenditure involved cast and performances related costs. Robert Downey Jr., while not commanding the highest salaries at the time, presenting a strategic investment. The film depended heavily on his ability to carry the narrative, making his role central to the allocation of resources. Sporting actors, including these portrayal key figures such as Obdinian Stain, were selected to provide strong performances without significantly inflecting the overall budget. This indicates a focused approach, prioritizing effectiveness over success. Production design and location work also accounted for a notable share of the budget. The film utilized real world achievement, including desert landscape, constructed interior that reflected a higher level of technological sophistication. Building detail sets such as workshop and laboratory spaces required both time and financial investment. These elements were essential in creating a believable world, reinforcing the film's commitment to realism. Post production represent another important component of resource allocation. Editing, sound design, and musical scoring were all areas where the film invested to refine its final presentation. The sound of the suit, the pacing of consequence, and the overall audio visual synchronization contributed significantly to the viewer experience. These aspects, while less valuable than on screen effort, require substantial resources to execute effectively. When placed alongside similar film, the budget of the film appear relatively controlled. For example, Spider-Man 3 operated with a budget exceeding to $50 million, reflecting its reliance large-scale effect and its status as an established franchise. Similarly, The Dark Knight had a budget of around $180 million, driven by its expensive action sequence and complex production demand. By comparison, Iron Man achieved a comparable level of quality and impact while maintaining a lower overall cost. This comparison highlights the film's efficiency rather than attempting to match other production in scale alone. It focused on targeted spending. Resources were allocated to areas that directly supported the story and character development, ensuring that each element contributed to the overall effectiveness of the film. This disciplined approach reduces unnecessary expenditure while still delivering a high quality cinematic experience. The production budget of the film reflects a balanced and strategic use of financial resources with an estimated cost range of $130 million to $150 million. The film demonstrates how careful allocation across visual effect, cast, design, post production can produce strong results. Its positive position relatively to similar film underscores the efficiency, showing that impactful storytelling does not always require the highest level of spending, but rather a thoughtful and deliberate approach to resource management. The domestic box office performance of the film can be understood as a strong indicator of both audience interest and shifting trend within the North America film market. Focusing on the region of the United States and the Canada, the film achieved domestic earning of approximately $318 million, a figure that places it among the top performer of its release year. This level of success is particularly notable given that the character was not widely recognized by general audience prior to the film release. From a regional perspective, the North America market responded positively to the film's combination of action, humor, and character-driven storytelling. The domestic audience base include a mix of comic book fans, general moviegoers, and viewers drawn by the film's technological theme. This broad appeal contributed to sustained performance beyond its opening weekend. Rather than relying solely on initial hype, the film benefited from steady attendance over time, suggesting strong word of mouth and repeat viewership. Looking at audience trend, the film arrived at a moment when superhero films were already gaining popularity, but expectations were still evolving. Earlier films had established interest in the genre, yet audiences were beginning to seek more grounded and character-focused narrative. The success of the film indicated that viewers were receptive to a different approach, one that balanced spectacle with personality and realism. The performance of Robert Downey Jr. played a significant role in this trend, as his portrayal of Tony Stark added a level of charisma and relatability that resonated with audience. Another important trend reflected in the domestic earning is the growing interest in interconnected storytelling, even though this concept was not fully established at the time. While most viewers initially approached the film as a standalone experience, its success demonstrated that audiences were open to new cinematic framework. This could later becoming a defining feature of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the film served as an early indicator of that potential. In terms of comparison, the domestic box office performance of the film stand out when placed alongside other films in the same genre and period. For example, the Spider-Man 3 earned a higher domestic total, benefited from its established franchise and built-in audience. Similarly, The Dark Knight achieved significantly greater earning driven by its darker tone and widespread anticipation. However, these films were part of already recognized series or iconic character, whereas Iron Man was introducing a relatively lesser known hero to mainstream audience. This destination is important when evaluating its performance. Without the advantage of prior brand recognition, Iron Man relied more heavily on its execution and audience reception. Its ability to reach over $300 million domestically suggests that its successful expanded its audience beyond initial expectations. The film's consistent earning pattern also indicate that it maintained audience interest over time, rather than experiencing a sharp decline after its release. Additionally, the domestic success of the film had broader implications for the industry. It demonstrated that a well executed film featuring a less familiar character could achieve significant financial success. This outcome likely influenced future production decisions, encouraging studio to invest in new property and long-term storytelling strategy. Overall, the domestic box office performances of the film reflect a combination of favorable audience trend, effective storytelling, and strong regional reception. Its earning of approximately $318 million in North America highlighted its ability to connect with a wide audience, while its position relatively to the similar film underscore its achievement as a standalone introduction. The film's success in this region not only established it as a major commercial hit but also contributed to shaping the direction of the superhero genre in the years that followed. The international Box office performance of the film provided an important interest perspective on how the film was received beyond North America. Outside the domestic market, the film earned approximately $266 million, bringing its global total to cover over $580 million. While this international figure is significantly lower than its domestic earnings, it still represents a strong and stable performance, particularly for a film introducing a relatively lesser known character to global audience. From a regional standpoint, the film performed well across key international markets such as Europe, East Asia, and parts of Latin America. In Europe, established interest in Hollywood action film contributed to steady box office return. Countries with strong cinema attendance tradition responded positively to the film's combination of technology-driven visual and character-focused storytelling. In East Asian market, including technological engaged audience, film emphasis on innovation and engineering aligning well with viewers' interest, supporting consistent performance. However, it is important to note that international appeal of the film was not as immediately strong as that of more globally recognized superhero properties. Characters like Spider-Man or Batman had already built widespread familiarity across the international market through decades of exposure in comic, television, and earlier film. In contrast, Iron Man did not initially carry the same level of recognition. This meant that the film's international success relied more heavily on audience reception after release rather than pre-existent popularity. When examining marketing reception, the film benefited from positive word of mouth and critical response, which play a key role in sustaining its performance internationally. Audience responded to the film's tone, particularly its balance of action and humor, as well as the engaging performance of Robert Downey Jr. This reception helped the film maintain momentum in various regions, even where initial awareness was limited. Cultural factor also influenced how the film was received in different markets. The emphasis on technology and innovation resonated with audience in regions where such themes are highly valued. At the same time, the film's accessible narrative structure made it easy for international viewers to engage with the story without requiring prior knowledge of Marvel comics. This accessibility contributed to its ability to reach a broad audience base across diverse cultural contexts. The marketing impact of the film internationally was another significant factor in its performance. Promotional campaigns focus on highlighting the film's action sequence, advanced visual effects, and the central character technological capabilities. Trailers, advertising material, and emphasize spectacle and entertainment value, which are key drivers in attracting global audience. Additionally, the marketing leveraged the growing reputation of the superhero genre, positioning the film as part of a larger trend in blockbuster cinema. Despite these efforts, the marketing approach focused the challenge of introducing a character who was not widely known in many regions. As a result, the campaign had to balance explanation with excitement, ensuring that audience understood the premise while still being drawn in by its scale and style. Over time, as the films gained popularity, its identity becomes more recognizable, helping to strengthen its position in international markets. Another aspect of the film's international performance is its role in establishing the earlier foundation of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While this concept was not fully developed at the time, the film's global reach demonstrated there that was not potential for expanding its audience across multiple regions. This success likely influenced further strategies for international distribution and marketing within that franchise. In summary, the international box office performance of the film reflect a combination of steady regional reception, effective marketing, and growing audience interest. While it did not initially benefit from strong global brand recognition, the film was able to build its audience through positive reception and accessible storytelling. Its earning of approximately $266 billion internationally highlights its ability to connect with diverse markets, contributing to its overall success and laying the groundwork for future expansion. The worldwide financial performance of the film can be understood by examining its gross alongside a realistic break-even analysis. The film earned approximately $585 million worldwide, combining both domestic and international market. This figure reflects the film's ability to reach a broad global audience, extending beyond its initial North America based into Europe, Asia, and other key territories. From a global perspective, the audience for film was diverse. In North America, the film benefited from strong familiarity with Hollywood blockbuster and growing interest in superhero narrative. Internationally, the appeal was driven more by the action film technological theme and the accessible storytelling rather than character recognition. This distinction is important because it shows that the worldwide growth was not dependent on a single region. Instead, it was built through a combination of strong domestic performance and steady international support, creating a balanced revenue structure. When discussing break-even analysis, it is necessary to look beyond the production budget alone. While the film estimated production cost was in the range of 130 to 150 million dollars, this does not represent the total investment. Additional expenses, particularly in marketing and distribution, significantly increase the overall cost. Marketing campaign for a global release can often add tens of millions of dollars, sometimes bringing the total expenditure closer to 200 to 20 million dollar or more. Another important factor is distribution cost and the way box office revenue share. The total worldwide gross does not go entirely to the studio. A portion of the ticket share is retained by theater and the percentage varies by region. In general terms, studios may receive around 50 to 55% of the domestic box office revenue and a lowering percentage from international market. This means that the actual revenue return to the studio is significantly less than the headline gross figure. Taking these factors into account, the estimated break-even point for Iron Man would likely fall somewhere between $300 million and $350 million worldwide growth. This range considers production cost, marketing expense, and the share of revenue retained by exhibitors. Since the film earned approximately $585 million globally, it comfortably exceeds this threshold, indicated a strong financial success. Beyond box office earning, revenue stream also play a crucial role in the overall profitability of a film. These include home media sales, television rights, streaming distribution, and merchandise. For films like Iron Man, merchandise tied to the character and brand added significant value. Licensing deals, toys, and related products contribute to the broader financial ecosystem surrounding the film. While these revenue are separate from box office income, they enhance the overall return on investment. Additionally, the film success helped establish the foundation of future production project within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This long-term impact is an important consideration in financial analysis. A successful film can generate not only immediate profit but also future opportunity, including sequels and interconnected stories that build on its success. In this sense, Iron Man functions as both a standalone product and a strategic investment in a larger franchise model. For a global audience perspective, the film demonstrated that a widely lesser known character could achieve widespread recognition through effective storytelling and marketing. Its performance across multiple regions showed that audiences were receptive to new entries in the superhero genre, even without established brand familiarity. In summary, the worldwide gross of Iron Man reflects a successful combination of domestic strength and international reach. When analyzed alongside production, marketing, and distribution costs, the film clearly surpassed its break-even point. Its financial performance was not profitable in the short term but also influential in shaping the future strategies, making it a significant case study in global box office analysis. The profitability of the film can be assessed by comparing its total revenue against its combined production and distribution costs, while also considering the impact of ancillary income stream. From an analytical standpoint, the film stands as a clear example of commercially successful project that not only recovered its investment but generated substantial returns. Starting with revenue versus cost, the film's production budget is generally estimated in the range of $30 million to $150 million. However, this figure represents only the part of the total expenditure. Marketing and distribution costs, often referred to as prints and advertising, likely added a significant amount, bringing the overall investment closer to approximately $200 million or slightly more. Against these combined costs, the film achieved a worldwide box office gross of around $585 million. It's important to note that the entire box office gross does not return directly to the studio. A portion of ticket sale is retained by theater, and the share varies between domestic and international market. Even after accounting for this split, the film's total revenue returned to the studio would still comfortably exceed its initial investment. This indicates that the film crossed its break-even point within a considerable margin, establish a strong foundation for profitability. Beyond theoretical earning, ancillary income play a very important role in determining the fully financial outcome for an Iron Man. These additional revenue streams include home media sales such as DVD, Blu-ray, television broadcasting right, and later digital distribution. These channels often generate long-term income exceeding the financial life of a film well beyond its theoretical run. Merchandising also contributing significantly to the film's profitability as a character-based property connected to the Marvel comics. Iron Man benefited from licensing agreements for toys, apparels, and other branded products. These merchandise-related revenue are not always included in standard box office calculation, but they represent a substantial portion of the overall earnings, especially for a film that introduces a character with strong commercial potential. Another important factor in the profitability analysis is the film's role in establishing the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While this does not directly translate into immediate financial return for the single film, it significantly increases its long-term value. By successful launching a broader franchise, Iron Man created opportunity for sequel, cross-promotional ventures, and interconnected storytelling, all of which contribute to sustained revenue generation. When evaluating return on investment, the film demonstrates a highly favorable outcome. ROI can be understood as the ratio between net profit and total investment. Given that the film's total revenue, combining box office return and ancillary income, far exceeds its estimated cost, the ROI is strong. Even with conservation estimates that account for revenue sharing additional expenses, the film likely generated a profit margin that justified its production and encouraged further investment in similar projects. From a broader perspective, the profitability of the film also reflects its efficiency. Compared to other films with significantly higher budget, it achieved comparable success without requiring extreme level of spending. This suggests that the film's financial success was not solely dependent on scale but on effective allocation of resources and strong audience engagement. The film was not only profitable but highly successful from a financial standpoint. Its revenue surpassed its combined cost by a wide margin, and its ancillary income stream further enhanced its overall earning. The film's strong ROI and long-term franchise impact reinforced its position as a significant commercial achievement, demonstrating how well-executed project can deliver both immediate and sustained financial return. The audience reaction to this film can be understood as a combination of strong engagement, positive viewers' feedback, and a broad demographic appeal. Rather than resonating with a narrow group, the film managed to connect with a wide range of viewers, creating a response that was both enthusiastic and sustained over time. From a demographic perspective, the films attracted multiple audience segments. Younger viewers, particularly teenagers and young adults, were drawn to the action, humor, and technological element. The idea of high-tech suit and a fast-paced sequence provided immediate entertainment value. At the same time, adult audience respond to the character-driven aspect of the story, especially the personal growth of Tony Stark. This dual appeal allowed the film to bridge generational gap, making it suitable for both casual viewer and more mature audience. The film also reached beyond traditional superhero fan. While followers of the Marvel comics were naturally interested, many viewers who were not familiar with the characters still engaged with the films. The broader reach suggests that the movie accessibility play a key role in shaping the audience reaction. It did not rely heavily on prior knowledge, allowing new viewers to easily understand and enjoy the story. In terms of viewers' feedback, The response was largely positive and often highlight the film's balance of tone. Audience appreciate the way it combined action with humor and character development. A significant portion of the praise focused on performance of Robert Downey Jr., whose portrayal of Tony Stark was widely seen as engaging and memorable. Viewers frequently noted that his charisma added a unique quality to the films, making the character feel distant from other superheroes of the time. Another common element in audience feedback was the appreciation for the film's grounded approach. Many viewers found the technological aspect believable and the overall setting realistic compared to more fantastical entries in the genre. This sense of realism contributed to a stronger emotional connection, and audience felt that the story was more relatable. The combination of believable technology and a flaw evolving protagonist created a viewing experience that felt fresh and engaging. Audience reaction also reflected a positive response to the film's pacing. Viewers generally found that the progression of the story to be smooth and well structured, with a balance between quieter character movement and a more intense action sequences. Pacing helped maintaining interest through the films, preventing it from feeling either rushed or overly slow. As a result, the viewing experience was often described as both entertaining and satisfying. When considering engagement, the film demonstrated a high level of audience involvement both during and after its release. Word of mouth play a significant role in sustaining its popularity. Viewers who enjoy the films often recommended it to others, contributing to its continued success at the box office. This type of organic promotion is a strong indicator of positive audience reaction, as it reflects genuine enthusiasm rather than marketing influence alone. Engagement also extended beyond the initial viewing. Many audience members expressed interest in the character and the potential for future stories, even though the larger framework of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was not yet fully established. This forward looking interest suggests that the film successfully created a lasting impression, encouraging viewers to remain investing in its world. Additionally, the film's mix of humor and action contributed to repeat viewing. Audience often returned to experience to the dialogue, character interaction, and the visual sequence again. This repeat engagement further reinforced the idea that the film resonating on multiple levels, offering both immediate entertainment and lasting appeal. Overall, audience reaction to the film can be characterized as highly positive and broadly inclusive. Its ability to connect with different demographics, generate strong viewers' feedback, and maintain high level of engagement highlights its effective as a film. By combining accessibility with depth, it created an experience that appealed to a wide audience and left a lasting impression on viewers. The box office performance of the film plays a significant role in shaping how the film is perceived, both at the time of its release and its retrospect. Financial success in the film industry often influence not only audience opinion but also critical interpretation, studio positioning, and the way a film is compared within its genre. In this case, the film's strong earning contributed to a shift in perception across multiple dimensions. From the perspective of critical reception, the box office success tend to reinforce positive evaluation, even if critics initially approach a film with caution. While reviews are ideally based on artistic merit, the commercial response can validate or amplify critical opinion. In the case of the film, its strong financial performance aligned with generally favorable viewers, creating a sense of consonance. Critics were not inclined to view the film as a meaningful contribution to the superhero genre rather than just another commercial product. The success suggests that the film's approach, combining character depth with entertainment, resonate not only with audience but also with evaluators' cinematic quality. At the same time, box office performance can influence how a film is remembered over time. A financial successful movie is more likely to be reinvested, discussed, and integrated into broader culture conservation. This continued visibility strengthens its reputation and often evaluates its perceived importance. In this way, the commercial success of the film helps establish it as more than a standalone film. It became a reference point for discussion about modern superhero cinema. The film's performance also had a direct impact on studio reputation. At the time, the company behind the film was taking a calculated risk by producing and financing its own project. The success of the film significantly enhanced the credibility of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a developing concept. It demonstrated that the studio would deliver a high quality, commercially viable film without relying on pre existing blockbuster franchise. This shift in perception was critical. A strong box office result signaled reliability and capability, which in turn affect future investment discussion. Studio investors and contributors are more likely to support projects associated with proven success. As a result, the financial outcome of the film did not just benefit the film itself, it evaluated the status of its studio, positioning it as a major player in the industry. This reputational boost allowed for greater creative and financial freedom in subsequent projects. While considering genre comparison, box office performance became a key metric for evaluating a film position within its category. Prior to Iron Man, the superhero genre had already seen major success, but many of these films were tied to well established characters. In contrast, Iron Man achieved significant earning despite featuring a less globally recognized hero. This distinction influenced how the film was compared to the other in the same genre. When placed alongside films like Spider-Man 3 or The Dark Knight, the perception of the film is shaped not only by its narrative quality but also by its financial efficiency and impact. While it may not have surpassed all competitors in total earning, its success relative to its starting position made it particularly noteworthy. This comparison highlights the idea that perception is not determined solely by absolute number but by context and expectation. Another important aspect is how the box office performance affect audience perception indirectly. When a film is widely recognized as successful, it often gain a level of social validation. Viewers may approach it with higher expectation or a greater sense of curiosity. This can create a feedback loop where strong performance lead to increased interest, which in turn sustains its popularity. In the case of the Iron Man, its success contributed to a perception of quality and relevance, encouraging more people to watch and engage with it. Additionally, financial success can influence how a film themes and storytelling are interrupted. A movie that performs well commercially is often seen as having effective Lee communicated its ideas to a broad audience. This can lead to a more favorable assessment of its narrative choice as success is interpreted as evidence of resonance. For Iron Man, its box office result reinforced the idea that its blend of character development, humor, and action was not only effective but also influential. Box office performance of the film significantly shaped its perception across critical, industrial, and general contexts. Its financial success supported positive critical reception, strengthened the reputation of its story, and positioned it as a key reference point within the superhero genre. By exceeding expectations and reaching a wide audience, the film transformed from a standalone release into a benchmark for both commercial and creative achievement. A detailed review or opinion of the film reveal a film that succeeds not just as entertainment but as a commercially constructed piece of modern cinema. When evaluating its overall impact through cinematic quality, production value, and performance and theme, it becomes clear that the film achieved a more balance between critical execution and meaningful storytelling. From a critical and cinematic quality standpoint, the film stand out for its control and confident approach. The film avoid necessary complexity, instead focusing on clarity in both narrative and visual storytelling. Its pacing is deliberate, allowing the story to develop naturally without rushing key moments. The direction by Jon Favreau play a crucial role here as he maintains a steady tone that blends action with interception. The film knows when to slow down and when to accelerate, creating a rhythm that keeps the audience engaged while still allowing space for character development. In terms of production value, the film demonstrates a a high level of technical craftsmanship. The design of the suit, the integration of practical effect with CGI, and attention to detail in technological environment all contribute to a sense of realism. Rather than overwhelming the viewers with spectacle, the production focuses on making each element feel purposeful. The visual effects are not just impressive, they are functional within the story. This approach enhances immersion as the audience can believe in the world being presenting. The film performances are a defining strength, particularly the word of Robert Downey Jr. His portrayal of Tony Stark is both charismatic and layered, bringing depth to a character who could have easily been one dimensional. He captured the complexity of a man who is confident yet flawed, humorous yet capable of the serious reflection. This balance is essential to the film's success as it allows the audience to connect with the character on multiple levels. The supporting cast also contribute effectively to the overall performance experience. Gwyneth Paltrow provides a grounded and sincere performance that complements the energy of the lead. Her presence adds emotional stability to the narrative. Meanwhile, Jeff Bridges delivers a controlled and understated performance that introduces tension without relying on exaggeration. Together, these performances create a dynamic that feels natural and coherent. When examining the film's theme, it becomes evident that Iron Man is more than a conventional superhero story. It explores ideas related to responsibility, identity, and the ethical use of power. The narrative presents a transformation that is both personal and philosophical, strength, suggesting that true strength lies in the ability to change. These themes are integrated into the story in a way that feels organic rather than forced, allowing the film to maintain its entertainment while also offering depth. Another notable aspect is how the film balances seriousness with accessibility. The humor is often delivered through Tony Stark dialogue ensure that the story factor in its appeal, as it allows the film to address meaningful ideas while still providing an enjoyable viewing experience. From a broader perspective, the film's impact extends beyond its individual component. It establishes a framework that would later influence the development of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, even when considered on its own, it demonstrates a strong sense of identity and purpose. It does not rely on external connection to be effective. Instead, it builds in its own narrative foundation with confidence. Iron Man can be regarded as a well-rounded and thoughtful executed film. Its cinematic quality reflects a careful direction in production value, enhanced realism. Its performance brings depth and authenticity, and its theme provide meaningful substance. The film succeeds because it understands the importance of balance between spectacle and story, humor and seriousness, and character and action. As a result, it remains a compelling and influential example of how a superhero film can achieve both commercial success and artistic credibility. When considering should watch Iron Man, it becomes clear that the film is designed for a broad but specific audience. In terms of age group, it is best suited for teenager and adult. Younger viewers can still enjoy the action and visual, but the deeper theme of responsibility, identity, and personal change are more likely to resonate with a highly older audience. Teen viewers, in particularly, may connect with the transformation of Tony Stark as it reflects growth and self-realization. Looking at the audience type, the movie is ideal for those who enjoy a mix of entertainment and character development. It appeals to viewers who want more than just action, offering emotional depth and a clear character. A fan of engaging personalities and witty dialogue will especially appreciate the performance of Robert Downey Jr., which adds charm and relatability to the story. From a genre preferences perspective, the film is highly recommended for those who enjoy superhero action and science fiction genre. It combines high energy sequence with grounded storytelling, making it accessible even to viewers who are not deeply familiar with comic based film. Additionally, audience interested in technology and innovation will find the film particularly engaging. Due to its focus on advanced engineering and design, other than the movie may not be suitable for every young children has some Scenes involve intense action and themes that require a level of maturity to fully understand. It may also appeal to viewers who prefer slow-paced, purely realistic dramas or those who are not interested in fiction or technology-driven narrative. Iron Man is best experienced probably by viewers who enjoy a balance of action, humor, and meaningful storytelling, making it a strong choice for a wide but clearly defined audience.